cellulase. You do not have the enzyme cellulase to break this down. You have the enzyme amylase in your mouth, amylase on your prefix suffixes. Are you guys studying that stuff? You have the enzyme to break this down, but you do not have the enzyme cellulase to break this down. So, but it is recommended, they don't say eat hay to you guys, they say eat fiber, because fiber is good for your digestive system. You're looking at it. Even though you do not have the enzyme to break it down, you will not break it down, you will defecate it out. The fiber that you're going to eat in your food. Am I making some sense a little bit? The fiber you're eating with food, of course it's recommended. Nobody, as I said, nobody recommends that you should eat hay, but everybody recommends that you should eat celery. Have you seen those strings in celery? Have you running? Does anybody like celery? Huh? I frown and I say celery. Spinach, they all have these. Celery has this. Well, I say celery because you can see it. Spinach, you say, oh, Amir does not have beta linkage. Yeah, it does have it. Anything, fruits, vegetables have this. Mashed potato have this. A potato, right? So we can digest that. But it's recommended we should eat a balance of these fiber, what, 20 grams, 20, 50 grams, somewhere 25, those will get nutrition. I used to teach nutrition, I forgot now all of everything. That many grams in your diet, a day should be in your diet. So fruits and vegetables will hopefully fulfill that. So we do not have the enzyme to break it down. During exam, yes, I'll show you this, and I say, what is it? You have to write down, it's a beta glucose, or a beta linkage, okay? And this is alpha. So, glycogen, I talked about that. Granules in muscle tissue, it's branched. Okay, glycogen is always branched. They are not showing it to you it's branched, but it's branched. And starch, it would be a nice essay question. What are the differences between starch and glycogen? Starch is both branched. When I say branch, I hope you all know what I'm talking about. You have polysaccharides here, and another branch comes off like this. Okay. That is starch. Starch can be straight or branched. Glycogen is always branched. Okay, in our muscle cells and liver cells. Okay, structure of polysaccharides. Polysaccharides, cellulose is a major component of tough wall of plant cells. Yes, and then like starch, cellulose is a polymer of glucose, but the glycosidic linkage. Glycosidic linkage is what? Different, right? Glycosidic linkage is different. One of them is alpha, and this is beta. The difference is between on two rings forms the glucose, alpha, and beta. Here is a cell wall, it's made up of it, and at the end, here we go. Again, I'm beating the dead horse to make this matters more understandable. I'm giving you another PowerPoints between 1 to 4. Of course, cellulose is beta. The way you draw it, the way we draw it in biology is like this. The alpha is on the bottom. We draw the beta on top, or a zigzag formation of it. You saw it before. Some people draw it like this, on top, with an E. There are different ways. Different textbooks draw it differently. As long as starch alpha configuration is largely helical, cellulose is molecules beta configuration are straight and unbranched. Of course, another difference is beta ones usually unbranched. Some hydroxyl groups on the monomers of cellulose can hydrogen bond with hydroxyl parallel glucose molecule. Chitin, another interesting molecule that you should know in biology. Well, you take zoology or botany, in future classes you will take, you come across this molecule a lot. This is a glucose molecule. I have a picture of it. It's going to come up. This is a glucose molecule that one end of it has a nitrogen attached to it. So far, all of the molecules you saw, the glucose molecules you saw so far, none of them had nitrogen. But chitin is a molecule that has nitrogen. Amir, where do you find chitin? Well, you find it in grasshopper. Any of you eat grasshopper? And some people eat. Insects? Oh, some people eat that. They have chitin. Mushroom. Any of you eat mushroom? When I say mushroom, nobody laughs. But a lot of people eat mushroom. Some people eat, insects. They all have chitin. Okay? They all have, our body does not make it. Human body does not make chitin. We do not make it. We do not make cellulose. But we make glycogen, which is an alpha linkage. Is that right? We talked about that. Here is chitin, the molecules of chitin right here. Look at it. You have carbon, 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 oxygen, and of course on carbon number 2, nitrogen. Nitrogen is attached right here. And that's what the chitin embedded in proteins forms in exoskeleton of arthropods. Chitin is used to make strong and flexible surgical threads, and so on and so forth. So chitin is in Mother Nature. Again, when you take botany, zoology, it will come to you again. But make sure you know what it is. Lipids. Let's go. I'm done with carbohydrates. I'm done with carbohydrates. Lipids. Next one. As I said, I'm hoping we get into proteins today. We'll see. Well, at least we start. Lipids. Lipids are a diverse group of hydrophobic molecules. Lipids are one class of large biological molecules that does not include true polymers. Okay, they do not have, each single units. You know what polymers and monomers means? Like this is a monomer, this is a monomer. You combine them together, many of them forms a polymer. Lipids are not like that. As I said, it's tough. I said lipid, fat. So anyhow, lipids are one class of biological that they do not have true polymers. The unifying features of lipids is that they mix poorly, if at all, with water. Lipids are hydrophobic. They hate water. They do not like water because they consist mostly of hydrocarbons which form a non-polar covalent bond. I think some of the things we talked about in the past is coming together. The most biologically important lipids are fats. Phospholipids are steroids. Steroid molecules are also phospholipids. Okay, they are lipids molecules. The most biologically important lipids are fats, phospholipids, which I will talk about them, and steroids, which I will talk about them. Here, lipids, all fat molecules have an acid group. You remember I gave you a list of functional group. Acid is one of them, right here. And then they have a methyl end. So they have an acid end, they have a methyl end. All of the fat molecules have an acid end and a methyl end. Between these two carbons, between that carbon and that carbon, shish kebab. Look at this, centipedes and millipedes. You guys see that centipedes? You all know what centipedes, millipedes, Sky, do you know what centipede and millipede is? I'm tired of calling Sarah. I'm learning your name. You all know what centipedes and millipedes is? Look at it. One end is acid, and one end is methyl. And in between, zillions of carbons. This is called a saturated fatty acid. It means a saturated fatty acid. It means all of the carbons have hydrogen attached to it. Called saturated fatty acid. This is called unsaturated fatty acid. Unsaturated fatty acid, like those hockey players in old days. Do you collect hockey players' cards? Anyway, when they smile, they're missing a couple of teeth up front. Because, have you seen those? Because when they play hockey, I think it's mandatory. NHL is making it mandatory that they have to wear the mask. Before, they did not wear a mask and they didn't have teeth, front teeth. That's called unsaturated fatty acid. They're missing carbons. Of course, when you're missing more carbons, missing hydrogens. They're missing hydrogen. So carbon has how many covalent bonds around it? Huh? 6. Carbon has how many covalent bonds around it? 4. I'm showing you the finger. You're still wondering. Oh, Amir is losing one finger. I lost this finger in a war. How many covalent bonds carbon has? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many covalent bonds carbon has? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many covalent bonds hydrogen can have? Maximum. 1. Am I making some sense?
Yes.
Thank you. Without you, I don't know what they would do here. Until tomorrow, I would say, gee, are you with me? Are you with me? And nobody says no. Anything. Okay. Here is a glycerol molecule. Yes, you should know this molecule as well. I'll show you this molecule. What is the name of it? The name of it is glycerol. Okay, the name of this molecule is glycerol. So what will happen in this molecule, you have a glycerol molecule right here, same as this one. Glycerol has 3 carbons, 3 OH, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hydrogens. 5 hydrogen, 3 hydroxyl group, and 3 carbon. And all of these lines are indicating of a covalent bond. Yes? No? Is everybody with me? Am I making some sense a little bit? So, you take that molecule and you combine them with a fatty acid. This fatty acid, same thing as this one. Right? So, this is a fatty acid. This is a glycerol. And I want to combine them together. So, the OH of the fatty acid is combined with the H of the glycerol, gives you water molecule. What is that process called? Dehydration. You're losing one water molecule. You're losing one water molecule. You add this one to that one. The name of this molecule is called monoglyceride. No, it doesn't have an F here. It's called mono. Can I erase all of the fatty acid, all of the carbohydrates?
Yeah.
The name of that molecule is called monoglyceride. Monoglyceride. Because of this glycerol, they call it monoglyceride. If you had 2 of them, if I had another one attached here, what would that be called? Diglyceride. If you look at the candy or the cakes you eat, look at the label in the back, see what it's composed of. They list some of these guys. And then when you have 3 fatty acids, no matter how long, no matter they have double bond or not, they're saturated or unsaturated, when you add 3 of them, then it's called triglyceride. Do I make sense?
Yeah.
Is that clear as mud? So, triglyceride is the most common fat in your diet. 90% of the fat you eat in your diet, in your food, whatever it is, avocado, olive oil, butter, whatever you eat, 90% of it, 90%, I didn't say 100%, 90% of that fat is triglyceride. Triglyceride. Don't forget that molecule. Don't leave home without it. Okay, here's a fatty acid, palmitic acid, don't worry about that term, but it's a monoglyceride. When you add them, of course they are not added together, but when you add them together, right here, animation, let's see, what does he have to say?
Butter, lard, margarine, and salad oil are composed of lipids called fats. To make a fat molecule, 3 fatty acids bind to a molecule of glycerol. For this reason, fat molecules are technically called triglycerides. Fat molecules do not mix with water because they have 3 long nonpolar hydrocarbon tails. Cells use fats for energy storage because the tails hold more potential energy than other biological molecules. The fatty acid tails in a fat can vary in length. A very important characteristic of fats is the number of double bonds in the hydrocarbon tails. Fats that contain only single bonds are called saturated fats. Fats containing double bonds in one or more tails are called unsaturated fats. Unsaturated fats tend to be liquid at room temperature. Vegetable oils are examples. Saturated fats, like butter and lard, are solid at room temperature. Saturated fats in the diet can lead to heart disease, while unsaturated fats are safer.
Okay, I'm not going to get into the health aspect of that because they usually change back and forth. Here it is, but you remember the glycosidic bond? You remember that linkage? In fact, when you attach a fatty acid to a glycerol molecule, that linkage is called ester linkage. Why do they call it ester linkage? I don't know. Probably the first scientist who discovered this had a daughter named Esther, or a wife. Instead of calling it sky linkage, they call it ester linkage because their wife, their daughter was named Esther. I don't know. Don't ask me why. Why is it called ester? I don't know. Okay, so that's an ester linkage. That's an ester linkage. Remember, I erased it. Glycosidic linkage. We had that before. It's called ester linkage between fatty acids and glycerol. And here they are. They are all over in olive oil, butter. Fats made from saturated fatty acids are called saturated fats and are solid at room temperature, as the video said. Most animal fats are saturated. Fats made from unsaturated fatty acids are called unsaturated fats or oils and are liquid at room temperature. Plant fats and fish fats are usually unsaturated. A diet rich in unsaturated fatty acids contribute to cardiovascular disease, as the video said. The hydrogenation, when you cook it, that's pretty much what it means. Hydrogenation, the process of converting unsaturated fatties to saturated fatty acids, is not healthy, they say. Okay, so as much as you can, stay away from hydrogenation of fats. Something like we cannot eat food without cooking it. What I do most of the time, I cook the food first, and at the end, I add the oil to it. Something to think about. I don't add the oil as I'm cooking the rice. I let the rice cook. At the end, before it comes to the table, still hot, I put some oil on top of it, still edible. Okay, to prevent this. Am I making some sense? Okay, the French fries you eat. Oh, shish kebab. It's very hydrogenated. They're not recommending that. Okay, but anyhow, hydrogenation in vegetable oil also creates unsaturated fatty acids and trans fat, double fats, which they say these are not trans fats. They say they're not good. These trans fats may contribute to more saturated fats and cardiovascular disease. Again, I'm not teaching nutrition, but I put it up here for you guys to look at it, to think about ways to cook, maybe to prevent that saturation, hydrogenation. Okay, certain unsaturated fats are not synthesized in the human body. These molecules must be supplied in diet, which is omega-3 and omega-6. It's gaining a lot of popularity to take those pills that has omega, or fish oil, they say, omega-6, omega-8, omega-3, omega-8. Our body does not make it, and we do need it. Our nervous system needs that molecule. Our nervous system needs omega-3. Okay, what are functions of fats? Okay, let's go in there. Major functions of fats as energy storage. Of course, 1 gram of fat gives you how many calories? 9. Very good. Human and other mammals store long terms as a reserve in adipose cells. Adipose tissues are also cushions for vital organs and insulate the body from outside temperature. What is the structure of phospholipids? That's the next important molecule that we need to talk about. Phospholipids, of course, by the name it appears, it has a phosphate group. Phospholipid. A phospholipid, 2 fatty acids and a phosphate group are attached to glycerol. The 2 fatty acids, tails, are hydrophobic, of course, but the phosphate group and its attachment forms are hydrophilic, and you will see that in a minute. I hope next. Here we go. Great. Words are nice in biology, but pictures in biology says more than a million words. Is that right? What they say usually out in the street, they say a picture says 1,000 words, but in biology, a picture says a million words. Maybe a billion next year. Goes up exponentially. Okay, so phospholipids, they have a phosphate group. It's a glycerol. You guys see that? This is a glycerol molecule. I showed it to you before. A glycerol molecule, one of those carbons in glycerol has a phosphate group, and then the other two carbons have a fatty acid and a fatty acid. And this is the ester linkage. You remember that? Ester linkage, I talked about that. This is the ester linkage, not here, because it's a phosphate group. Okay, so did they give you the name of the linkage in here? No, they usually some textbook they give you the name of the linkage here. That linkage would be a phosphate linkage. But anyhow, do not worry about it. This is a phospholipid molecule. This is a phospholipid molecule. The short way of showing this for rest of semester, short way of showing this is this. This molecule has a head. We call it, for rest of semester, I call it a head, which is this, and tail. A tail. Okay? The head is hydrophilic. Hydrophilic means what? Likes water. Thank you. There's one live person in here beside me. That's nasty, isn't it? Say something like that. Oh, you're focusing on the material. Very good. So it has a hydrophilic head and a hydrophobic tail. So hydrophobic tail does not like water. Hydrophobic. You know phobia. You've heard of phobia. Yeah. Hydrophilic. It loves water. Okay. So, and right here they're showing you the cell membrane, what surrounds the cell, the parameter of the cell. Right here, if you would, like an amoeba, I should have bring those plant cells and animal cells here. This amoeba right here, outside of it is all phospholipid. Thousands, millions, billions of them. Right here. Okay? Steroids, another molecule, lipid molecule that you should know, are lipids characterized by carbon skeleton consisting of 4 fused rings. So cholesterol, a type of steroids, is components in animal cell membrane, and of course cholesterol found in cell membrane as well. They did not show you a cholesterol here, okay, but you will see it later on that cholesterol is found in cell membrane, precursor which was. So all of our steroids, you know, like testosterone, estrogen, they all come from cholesterol. Cholesterol is converted in our body into testosterone. Cholesterol in our body is converted into estrogen. Those are the type of information I'm hoping you would know for your exam. Okay, so high levels of cholesterol in the body may contribute to cardiovascular disease. Here's a cholesterol molecule. 1, 2, 3, 4 rings. And as I said right here, 4 fused rings. What do you guys think? What is here? Oh. Carbon. Thank you. We know. What is here? Huh? Carbon. What is here? Huh? Anybody? Nitrogen. Sulfur. Carbon. How come you guys, are you? It's mandatory next time you come to the class you have breakfast. So you have energy. None of you come here starving. I'll bring a big box of candy. And if I don't hear a word from you, I throw it at you. Those of you who talk, I know you had breakfast. Those of you who don't say anything, I say, and I force you, make you eat it. I force it to you to eat it. How about that? Carbon, carbon, carbon. Just for simplicity reasons, they didn't draw them. It takes a long time. And then what is here? If it is carbon here, carbon must have how many covalent bonds? 4. So this is carbon here, Amir. That's 1, 2 covalent bond. Where is the other 2? Hydrogen here, hydrogen there. Am I making some sense?
Yes.
A hydrogen here and hydrogen there. The covalent bond, the carbon here, how many covalent bonds is there on that one? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there any hydrogen here?
No.
No, not anymore. Carbon here, 1, 2, 3, 1 hydrogen here. Am I making some sense, everybody?
Yes.
Can I go?
Yes.
Thank you. Video. It's just showing, okay, filling model, another state model. Okay, proteins. I'm going to start on proteins, hopefully. He's getting into a lot of stuff like this. A lot of animation.
Don't we have to do the lab today?
Yeah, we have lab. Okay, well, I'll come back to those. I just want to leave you with this note that I can ask some quiz questions on proteins as well. Proteins are very important. But before we go, proteins are made up of what?
Amino acid.
What monomers proteins are made up of? Monomers. So the monomers are amino acids. What are amino acids made up of? What is general structure of amino acid? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. They have a central carbon. He's calling it alpha carbon. I call it central carbon. Attached to the central carbon is an amino group. You remember fatty acids? They had an acid end and a methyl end. You remember that? Fatty acids. Amino acids have a central carbon, amino end, acid end, hydrogen, and R group. R group, R stands for radical. Radical. Radical in this case means we have 20 different amino acids. We have 20 different amino acids. Those 20 different amino acids, this makes them different. This group, the R group, makes them different. The rest of all 20 amino acids, all 20 amino acids have acid end, central carbon, hydrogen, amino end. All 20 of them have it. What makes them different? The R group. Look at, I'm not going to take much of your time anymore. You're entitled to a break. But look at the amino acids, the 20 amino acids. Look at them. And I do not expect you to memorize them. When I took biochemistry, I had to memorize the structure with the name. But look at them this weekend and see how they are different. How they are different. They are all alike. They all have a central carbon, acid end, hydrogen, amino end. Central carbon, acid end, hydrogen, amino end. Central carbon, acid end, hydrogen, amino end. What makes it different is those yellow boxes. You have to know these amino acids for your exam. How would you, for exam and quiz on Wednesday? What is it that you have to know, Amir? I don't have to know the structures. No, you don't have to know the structures. You have to know, recognize the name. I give you a list, like multiple choice. Which one of the following is not amino acid? For example, glycine, alanine, phenylalanine, amir, and tryptophan. Which one is not amino acid? Huh? Amir is not amino acid. Of course, I will not make it that simple. I say, I make up a word or I say another word that is similar to these guys. So recognize them, number one. or say which one of the following is an amino acid. Classroom, Reno, Basum, cysteine, either one. Also, I expect you to know the one-letter abbreviation. We need it for later on during semester. I'm sorry. I'm guessing a little bit, but make sure you know the one-letter abbreviation, and that's all you have to know about amino acids. Recognize them, number one. Later on during semester, if I say tyrosine, you know it's an amino acid. Right? And the abbreviation for tyrosine is Y. One letter. Learn the three letters too. Sometimes I refer to as the three letters. Sometimes I refer to as the one letter. Is there any question? I started you off with protein, and then when you come back on Monday, we finish up proteins and nucleic acid, and then on Wednesday is your first exam. Your first Armageddon. Put it this way. First Armageddon. You have how many of them here? Oh, 4. Yeah, 4 Armageddon. 2 lab practical, 4 Armageddon. The first one is next Wednesday. I'm done. I need 10 minutes break. I need 10 minutes break. I don't know about you guys. I'll be back. Enjoy it. Enjoy your 10 minutes break. Be back. Let's do the lab.